Immigration enforcement is back in full swing as the Trump administration lifts its pause on workplace raids at farms, restaurants, and construction sites. So, are the ICE raids causing labor shortages? I'm Veronica Dudo. Let's find out.
This is In America Today from the Ticker News Studios in New York City.
The Trump administration has reversed its short-lived pause on immigration enforcement at places like farms, hotels, and restaurants. The Department of Homeland Security says the president is cracking down on industries that knowingly harbor violent criminals or interfere with ICE operations. This shift comes as ICE carries out targeted arrests of convicted criminals living in the U.S. illegally, averaging roughly 2,000 arrests per day. Protests erupted in Los Angeles following the raids, prompting President Trump to deploy National Guard troops to protect federal immigration agents on the ground. At the White House, President Trump highlighted the need for national.
Now, look, we have to take care of our farmers. We have to take care of people that run leisure, hotels. I mean, we have to take care of them. But most importantly, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And Biden let in thousands, 11,888 murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. Can you believe it? Many, almost 50% of them murdered more than one person. He let them into our country. They emptied out the jails of countries from all over the world, from the Congo, from Venezuela, from all over the place. They emptied out their jails. Many of them, I would. If I were running one of the countries, I would have emptied out my prison population into the U.S., and many countries did. And we're getting them out, okay? We're getting them out.
For more, I'm joined by Tony Delgado, the CEO of Latino Wall Street. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So first, do we know why the Trump administration initially paused the immigration enforcement at workplaces like farms and restaurants, and what led to the reversal?
Yeah, so, I think that President Trump is a businessman, and first and foremost, before politics, he was a mogul in real estate, in hospitality, and in a lot of industries that rely on immigrant labor. And it's just a fact of the matter is that the United States relies on a lot of immigrant labor, right? Now, you can debate the issues all you want, but for the past few decades, Hispanic Americans and immigrants from all around the world have came into the country under various statuses, and a lot of them are part of the workforce, right? So they're part of the workforce in agriculture, in hospitality, in construction. And I think as a business owner, President Trump is waking up and realizing that you can't just rip out this huge part of the economy, right? The economy is going to collapse. A lot of these businesses rely on this part of the workforce. And honestly, in a lot of ways, these are jobs that Americans are not even accustomed to doing anymore.
What legal challenges could some of these businesses potentially face if they're accused of undermining ICE operations? Or do you think potentially we might see some type of guidance to maybe, fix some of these disparities?
Yeah, so myself and a group of other business leaders went to the White House last week and met with members of Congress and members of the Trump White House administration to discuss the big, beautiful bill, to discuss the economy, and to discuss one of the most pressing issues for Hispanics here in America, which is immigration and immigration reform. And after that meeting, the next day, President Trump announced that he is looking into potentially signing an executive order to address having a pathway for immigrants who are here under questionable statuses, right? Now, not criminals, not cartel members. I think we're all in agreement that we don't want cartel members, gang members, violent people here in this country, drug dealers, etc. But honest, hardworking people who have maybe been here 10 years or 20 years or more, and they're part of the American economy. And he admitted in the last few press conferences that his own constituents, right, are coming to him and saying, listen, I need these workers. They're a part of the farms that we have. They're a part of the hospitality industry, right? Hotels, construction, right? These are major parts of the U.S. economy, and I don't think we can just rip these people out of the economy. Again, you can debate the issues, but the fact of the matter is there are a huge contribution to the U.S. economy.
Now, it's a very busy time. The summer months, of course, tourism is a big part of the economy in the United States. And with summer, schools out, do you happen to know of a timeline when we might be able to see that executive order? Because, of course, that would certainly settle a lot of things, especially at some of these workplace environments, as we've been talking about in agriculture, hospitality, and construction sites.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see it sooner rather than later, right? Unfortunately, we now have a war brewing in the Middle East, and we have a lot of things that are on the president's desk, and hopefully this gets pushed to the top. One piece of legislation that I'm very excited about, or there's actually two pieces of legislation that are uh, being proposed and that have come to my desk. So one of them is called the Yellow Card. It's from an NGO who specializes in helping immigrants get their status fixed, right? And this would involve a self-deportation, similar to what the president has already proposed, a self-deportation, and then a quicker reentry into the American workforce. And now you're re-entering as a on some sort of a work visa, right? And there'll be stipulations, right? You're not allowed to vote. You can't have a criminal background. You maybe you serve in the military to help earn your way back into the country, right? So that's the one piece of legislation is the yellow card. There's also another piece of legislation called the Dignity Bill or the Dignity Act, which is from Congresswoman Maria Salazar. Again, similar where we're looking at people who have been here 10 years or more, right? Not these recent migrants, not the border crisis that was created under Biden, but people who have been here 5 or 10 or 20 years or more. And again, no violent background. You have to prove that you have a job. You have to prove that you are financially stable enough to be in this country. But creating a pathway so that we're not breaking up families, we're not hurting hardworking people who are coming here for the American dream.
Now, of course, you are a businessman, and we have seen prior administrations. This is an issue that many have grappled with. And of course, the president has a very strong stance, from a legal aspect, and of course, also with a criminal aspect. What do you think sometimes of the constant barrage of criticism, as he's trying to navigate what is a very complex issue?
Well, I mean, one of the things that was really heartbreaking was to watch these riots in Los Angeles and some other places in the country. And I remember I was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and I looked up at one of the monitors and you just see all these cities being burned and you see these guys waving the Mexican flag. And, there's reports that half of them aren't even Mexican and that a lot of these protests are actually being funded by the Chinese Communist Party and by George Soros and a lot of other nefarious sources. We had a meeting with the mayor of New York, and he told us that 88 people were arrested when they tried to kind of do a copycat of the LA riots in New York City. They immediately started arresting people, and they were able to arrest 88 Antifa members who were not Latino, were not from the city of New York, and came in from out of state places all around the country to agitate and to create violence and sow division in our nation. So I think whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you're going to be heartbroken at seeing these great cities have so much chaos and so much violence happening. And I don't think that's how we get the message across. I don't think that's how we affect real change. I think you affect real change from the inside, from getting involved and getting politically active. And that's why me and other members of my organization were in DC, were in Washington last week for multiple days, actually working on solutions to the problem. I don't think setting cars on fire is going to get us immigration reform. I think that happens in DC.
Now, you talked about, of course, being a part of those talks. What is your message to people maybe who are watching when you're seeing these protests get out of hand? Of course, they're violent. How much does that set you back in the goals that you're trying to attain on this issue?
Yeah, I mean, you're not winning anyone over by lighting a car on fire. You're not winning anyone over. I did an interview with CNN, and they were trying to say, well, aren't most of these protests peaceful? And I was like, what's peaceful about lighting cars on fire? Like, that's not going to convince anyone that we want more immigration. That's going to convince middle America that we want less immigration, right? Look at all these crazy immigrants. They're lighting cars on fire, right? Little do they know that, like I said, a lot of these people are not even Hispanic. A lot of them are paid agitators, right? Now, there's legitimate people that are out there protesting, but a lot of the people that are doing the most violence and the most chaos are actually paid agitators that Congresswoman Anna Paulina, when we met with her in D.C., showed us evidence that they're being funded by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and Soros. So you turn on the news and you see these riots, and you see all this violence, and you see all these protests, and you're like, oh my God, I should go help. I'm Hispanic, right? And you're getting duped into joining something that is actually not what it seems.
Tony Delgado, thank you so much for your time and, of course, speaking about this issue.
Thank you for having me on.
This is Ticker. We'll be right back.